I wanted to say welcome to everyone that's new here to the Cyber Community Call, and we're excited to have it popping on Discord. Hopefully we get some new people to get involved in our community. And yeah, it's quite simple. I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything personally to deliver, so I'm wondering if maybe Maxim or anyone else wants to. I guess we like to share what's going on in the cyberverse. We like talking about some data. We like to show there's these things called cyberlinks that are the lifeblood that connect the network together. We like to talk about how many cyberlinks we're pumping out each week. And yeah, maybe Maxim, you want to talk about some developments in that? We got some new people.
Oh yes, so I would like to start with my stats and just be free after.
Cool.
Oh, after. Okay, wait, we got the stream up.
I think it's a good idea to start every community call from the stats of Cybergraph.
I agree.
Cool. Okay. Max, have you got something on your screen right now?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, now you
Now we
can.
can. Now we can.
Previously I was talking. So, yeah, in the previous 2 weeks, guys, 42 neurons were active. It is not a joke, it's a real stats. So, like, 42 neurons in the previous 2 weeks were active. They created this number of the cyberlinks. It's like 4,400, 4,440.
Max, sorry,
400,000.
Cyber Prophet, could I interrupt you? Sorry. Can you share your screen with your beautiful report? I know that you see it, but we can't.
Well,
I could
actually,
actually see his screen. I could see it.
Actually,
If
we
you
see.
click- Yeah.
Seriously, I don't. Okay,
probably you should choose me in the list of the cameras.
Well, actually, no. If there's something that says watch stream, it's separate from you, Maxim, and it's a different box.
Oh, really?
This is Master Cyber's first time on Discord, people, so it's okay.
I got find out. Sorry. First time in Discord for me.
I'm so proud of you, bro.
So yeah, this is our stats, and this is what we see. It's like 440,000 cyberlinks were created during that time. 42 neurons were active. Some follows and some tweets. Let's check some other stats here. And further, we can see that CyberAcademy created the most substantial part of those cyberlinks, and it is on the first place by 410,000 of cyberlinks. Cicada on the second place. Mcmerritt is the third one, and further the registrations, the passport registrations goes. Also, we can see here the karma. I created the new column with karma normalized and the karma normalized bar. So we can visually see who is the leader now. The leader now is master type still, but Cicada is on the second place with 74% of karma of master type. And master type has 100% of karma here. CyberAcademy is the third, and we can even sort by karma. Just to check Dick Neuron's new sort by karma. Yep, and we can see that actually there were Master Cyber, Cicada, and CyberAcademy are the leaders by the karma, and this is how our karma looks like by its distribution now.
Nice.
So
Two quick questions.
Pardon?
Two quick questions for you. If my memory serves me correct, last week, CyberAcademy has been pumping out a lot of cyberlinks to kind of copy Wikipedia onto the Cybergraph and have that be traversable, correct? So is this 400,000 a continuation of that project?
Well, I guess so. Maybe Artyom can say better. Maybe Artyom can use Russian and I can translate. But as far as I know, he is continuing this work, right?
Maybe Artyom wants to. If he only speaks Russian, that's a little difficult. But okay, well that is what I was talked about last week on the call. For people that don't know, we have Wikipedia coming to the Cybergraph and CyberAcademy. Those cyberlinks, from what I understand, are likely a part of that project. And the karma is my other question. What exactly is the karma? Is it only like something tied to creating cyberlinks, or maybe how interconnected things are? What does this mean?
Maybe Cyber's head can explain better, or Master Cyber.
My karma is going down.
That's a good thing,
Although
no?
I'm not doing anything. Although I'm not doing anything. Like it was higher, and then it goes down over time. Probably because I'm not doing anything. That it would be speculation.
Well, karma is quite simple measure of your direct contribution into the entropy of Cybergraph. So basically, we put it Valera, like when we launched the network, we wanted some measure of neurons activity.
Integral activity.
And we put it that allow us to turn the game. Now we understand that probably karma, the current algorithm behind karma is not so good in solving our goals. And Valera probably can tell you more on his plans regarding this.
Yes, current karma algorithm implementation is just proof of concept, basic implementation of idea how to measure neurons activity based on cyberlinks and their structure inside the graph between information delivered of each of neurons contributing to the graph. And this algorithm implemented using a multiplication of ranks of all particles and negentropy of each particle and the cyberlinks, and based on this information, integral sum of contributing of every neuron to graph using negentropy and the ranks of particles itself is calculated. But this algorithm at the beginning, there was understanding that this algorithm is just testing of some idea and just first iteration, because back to those times we understood that we need some metric to start on. And after time we understood that this is not a great solution, and rather better algorithms exist, and current idea and work that already started based on our experiments with Yuma consensus from Bittensor network, which was implemented as part of Cybernet projects using COS-WASP contracts that already started. That team already started to test in SpacePussy network. And my big idea is to implement this algorithm on GPU and compute trust and later incentives for all neurons in the network based on the cyberlinks in the graph. And the main idea that whites some subjective measurement of each one contribution, is idea to compute this evaluation of each other based on cyberlinking content from ranking content information from other neurons in the network. So that means that if you have some cyberlinks created with newly created information by you, or for example cyberlinks which you used to rank some information from another neuron. So using these vectors of cyberlinks, we can compute similarity, especially cosine similarity between neurons and their cyberlinks vectors. And this allows to, for any given pair of neurons, to assign them some weights. And using these weights, and stakes in the networks, we can compute a trust, global trust, and rewards as feedback to the community and the network itself. And this work is going now. We already started with not global graph as a general algorithm in using smart contracts, using cost-function virtual machine and with small communities. But the great idea, because we are I think only one network with such graph GPU capabilities in the whole industry. So the main idea to use this, to use GPUs to compute this algorithm on the whole graph for every neuron, for all cyberlinks, for everything that we have, and provide direct feedback to every neuron using incentives mechanisms. And this also means that
hold on. Can I cut you off for a minute? I want to ask a question.
I would like to add my thought. And part of this road that I mentioned that there is a trust computed inside this algorithm. So potentially this trust can be new karma algorithm. But first we need to, after GPU proof of concept, we would like to bring it online and see what is going on in the graph, in the meaning of karma and trust and metrics. So I think in a few months there will be news based on this topic.
Nice. Actually, your last statement helped my mind. I was going to summarize to make sure I understand and that the community understands. Karma originally was there as an experiment to incentivize and maybe reward the network participants, but then you used Bittensor's model and evolved that into the Cybergraph, and you're developing a new model with that and kind of using karma as the namesake, or I guess, what's the word I'm looking for?
Not
Karma
entirely
will be...
correct. Not entirely, not entirely correct, because it was never intended for incentivization. Current algorithm was never intended for incentivizations and paid direct payments. It was just as a score, a number, which users would have for their, like, as a feedback for their efforts. Yes, and now, like, we want to take this group, like, roughly say this name, and put inside this more solid scientific foundation, which is the score very close to Shapley value, and it will this number will allow to have quite reliable payments.
Nice. So it is evolving into that direction to be both an incentivization and kind of a reputation system.
Yes.
All right.
Cool. And that's what CyberHead was saying.
Yeah. By the way, I think worth to mention for new community members that still, like, we have almost 1,000 blockchains currently, but still the bostrom is the only blockchain, maybe Bittensor also, yeah, who have on-chain computation of on-chain reputation. Which is like reputation algorithms are like, and that happens because actually it's hard to compute all reputation algorithms on chain because they all are parallel. But because we are having GPUs in consensus, we are like we're able to do that from the first day, and we just wanted to demonstrate that.
Cool. Well, is there any other questions on that from anybody, or maybe we move on to the next segment? Okay, I think we can move on. Saib, is there anything you wanted to display or talk about?
As we already started to talk about Cybernet, I would like to mention that we are move very fast with this, and 1 week ago, whole team made first setup and participation of newly deployed, at lastly deployed Cybernet contract version in SpacePussy network, and there was guide was written to allow to everybody join on SpacePussy network for first user testings of contracts, and we already started talk and research of code name game of Tensors that will be game with incentives that will reward in tokens all participants that will contribute to testing of contracts and documentation, iteration on a documentation, and also pink.
That was very.
I have no idea where this sound was. Anyway, so and we started to discuss rules and tokens distribution for this game. I think very soon we would like to move very fast with this. We will create a proposal and we'll make a call to community about new game. And yes, it will be very great movement because Cybernet and incentivization for neurons for contributing to the graph. It's holy grail. That was here for years as idea, but now we are starting. We are ready to start this movement, and.
You said
Master,
you have the
would you
guide.
like to add
Yeah. I would love to add some. Yeah, last week we gathered with almost all the team to test the new tooling Valera create. It was very success. The thing is working already in SpacePussy. So tokens, we put not so much tokens on the contract currently, but tokens are being distributed using Yuma consensus. Do not confuse Yuma consensus with like consensus algorithm used for validating blocks. It's like a second level consensus. Yeah, we did identify that we must simplify setup of CLI because it's quite complicated yet and contains several like mistakes which are really hard to identify. But yeah, it's working for sure, and soon we will submit, I think, 2 proposals to SpacePussy network. First one is on allocation of the rewards to game of Tensors. So it will be completely in Pussy tokens. And second, on finalizing distribution of SpacePussy, which I want to start to discuss now. What do I mean by finalizing distribution? When we launched SpacePussy on Class 1 hackathon in Medellin, we thought that like it's a good idea to give all these SpacePussy tokens to Cosmos-based networks, and even Sergey here, he did spend some time to making this snapshot. But first, Cosmos community is not really like helping and involved in being involved in our project, so it's not kind of like the best audience for us. And second, we find out that with drops, it's really hard to identify farmers, like airdrop farmers. So we like the second thought was we discussed it 1 month ago that we must just allocate all these rewards to this Yuma consensus for like bootstrapping learning in SpacePussy network. But when I start to analyze from a game theoretic perspective with this decision, I realized that it will be like very bad decision, and I'll try to explain why. Like if we allocate like 96% of almost 96% of like tokens which are currently being held by community pool to this reward system, we probably we will either break the consensus or will not have enough incentives for learning. I will explain you why. There are 2 outcomes in this decision. Like the first one is that outcome that it will be like APR for staking will be higher than staking in consensus, and that is like very bad outcome because staking in consensus holds some risks of slashing, and staking in Yuma consensus does not. So high IPR with less risks means that tokens will start to flow out of consensus, and that will lead to very insecure network. Second case is that APR will be lower than staking in the network with probably less tokens, but it's also not a way to go because we need strong consensus for this task. So actually we came to understanding that we can't use Pussy tokens for this learning, and I think it will be a great advantage of our ecosystem in comparison with Bittensor ecosystem, because actually Bittensor currently don't have consensus for block generation. They use our pellet from substrate, which means that everything validated using simple multisig. And they don't have this problem because they don't have actually a secure validating mechanism. And like if you want, like it's a good idea to put rewards on second layer, which we will do. And after this realization, it becomes clear that like probably a best idea, like a good idea, like we ask a question, okay, where we should put these pussy tokens. And my proposal will be to leave them alone in a community pool. So basically, we will have really strong community incentives to come and offer something. You know, even with like, if we will have SpacePussy capitalization at $10 million and 25x will be held by community pool. That means that SpacePussy cap will be like quarter billion, which put SpacePussy in terms of community bag like in top of DAOs in top of all DAOs immediately. So so this will be the second proposal to finalize SpacePussy distribution as it is. Just leaving all the tokens in community pool.
Cool. And just to double back, you had a guide, Valletta, on how to use and interact with this game of tensors in the SpacePussy network, correct? Or yes, well, he does. We'll get that later. Does anyone else want to add what they've been working on? Maybe something having to do with sense?
Yes, we continue sense. It was shown last call, so I'm not sure is it worth to show it again?
It is, Chess, because we have so very different people here in comparison with the last call. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to show them like what's actually we are working on. You probably can see on my screen currently that I have here a Telegram-like interface, and basically it allows you to sync all the transactions and all
we
the
can't.
parts.
I don't think we. I don't know if we can see your screen right now.
Let me share my screen.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. And basically, like this is the sense, yeah. So this is like first, the mechanism of syncing transactional data and the data about links to your local storage, so you can go see the state of synchronization. Yeah, it's very good synchronization, and when you like can query using data log language the stuff from your local graph. And like the biggest thing, this is an application, is that after you can after sync is complete, you can communicate with your friends in Bostrom and later in Cosmos networks using Telegram-like interface. And I think it's really cool and powerful. So you see that here in the communicate, like in the with your friend, you can see not only messages from your friend, but all all shared posts from your friends. So basically, hello from Sense. I'm here signing transaction, and you see it immediately appear. Now it's yellow. Oh yeah, and it's green right now, so it's confirmed by the blockchain. Yeah, it's done. So basically, you have here a communication platform which allow you to not only see your transactions between your peers or messages. I want to find the case. Yeah, you see here that you see all the transaction history with all the comments. Also, if you choose to share something, to post something to your log, it immediately become available here in this particle subsection. And actually, these are threads on what you tweet or retweet. And here you can see how it looks like. So basically, now will never miss if you want to subscribe to some particle in Cybergraph, you just can pair it and your subscription will appear here right in sense. So basically it's a like public collaboration, like complete public collaboration platform, which is almost ready to go to production. Those who are not who are interested, you see this 1083 pull request here with a link to test, so you can test it. And I hope we will put it into production like during this week, because not so many things left to like critical things left. But when after putting it into production, we will make one more iteration on the like on fixing like bugs and having user feedback. We already know that some things are not so cool here, but we just like we spent almost 2 months already for these tasks and want to show it as like fast as possible. But yeah, we will after deploying it to the main site, we will continue to polish this because we believe this could become like a headliner application on top of Cybergraph, like the source that will help to boost the community. You just like don't have a lot of convenient tools like for blockchain communications, and like at maximum you can send direct messages, but to have like a complete solution when you can communicate directly and using shared groups and threads like in forum like style, like I think it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. It's fucking cool. I promise. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's reasonably fast as well. It's easy to post.
It is more on.
You can go. Yeah, fast. So cool.
Release.
Is there anything else we wanted to discuss?
Yes, I want to add. I forget to push a button. This is like a really real-time thing because when you send someone a message and someone answer you, like it just appears on your screen without like necessity to refresh or something like that. So it's real-time on chain communication. Very powerful thing. Release soon. Release this week, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool way to have maybe an easy thing for people to just use the graph and use the project. To your point, it could be like a kind of flagship product for Bostrom. Especially with stuff like Farcaster popping off and other social
Yeah. It is because like we with Max we realized today that it's actually kind of like feels like a killer application for Cybergraph, yeah, which doesn't require rent calculation even. So it's just links pure links without necessity. So the really important thing that while our ranking system is maturing, it's vulnerable. And
It's really cool that it's Cosmos and IBC compatible, because one day when you can have it streamlined to just have any be connected to any chain, it's even stuff with like Dimension. Dimension has a lot of hype right now, so you could go to any DIM or Rollup chain and communicate and have messaging with many different platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, even more like we design this like multi-chain communication thing, because you know that we already have some like prototypes of hub contracts, and like once we feel that first thing is that it's quite reliably working, like the problem with adding another chains is actually that first they don't have like Cybergraph, so sharing like communication, direct communication will work for different chains, but sharing and topics and discussions will not, because they just don't have Cybergraph yet. It could be solved by deploying some smart contracts. Yes, that's the first part of a problem. The second part of the problem that we are using right now extensively CyberIndex, which is the kind of like backend for this thing, and like indexing this. So like the chain must be indexed in like in a special way. So we probably would need to consider finding solutions which allow to like lead like abilities into like universal interfaces like LCD, and like additional abilities like bostrom specific stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's doable in a middle term. In short term is not likely, but in the middle term, I think like it must be done.
Yeah, and even it doesn't really matter
Even
right now.
even including Ethereum and Ethereum-based
Yeah.
networks.
So that's exciting. But more importantly, to your point, we could have the main platform roll out within maybe next week, maybe a couple weeks, and have it active at least on Bostrom Network, which is the first step. The first step's almost here, guys. So, any other developments that we want to discuss? We got Game of Tensors popping. We got Sense. It's all good. We got the data update. Maxim and I are working on a Sci tutorial to get some intro videos out there to have the education of Sci and Cybergraph be a bit more streamlined and easy, step by step.
I'm also in touch with Deep team. Lastly, in the mid of January, I was in Moscow and met team of Deep which are developing a great platform using graph and links concepts. And these guys didn't have blockchain, so we launched together during the hackathon Deep Chain. So they are iterating on integration, and our team and me, we are in touch and trying to bring this integration as soon as possible. They have pretty powerful application, and they are already used a lot of links to on their platform, and adding blockchain layer to this, and the Cybernet for incentives later will boost their community and network a lot. And this is actually the first and second network based on Cyber SDK. So this is also great movement. We have dedicated team which joined our community and use software that we wrote. So yes, this is a huge step, huge achievement, and I hope they will join our community calls very soon.
Nice. That's deep foundation, correct?
Right.
Guys, should we mention that we were listed on the CoinMarketCap, or it's for another good talk?
Yeah.
That's bullish, bro. That's bullish.
No, we shouldn't, Max.
Later.
Yeah, in top 5,000 projects
Yeah.
like on a hard layer, on a big, huge layer of the shit of tokens. We are somewhere in the.
That actually might help out, though. That might actually, because it's right now, maybe you got some degenerates scrolling for the hot new or new listings and they just see Bostrom. Cool.
Yeah, also in addition of that, we are continuing to working on listing warp decks for CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. So probably that's our second round of that. So we tried to do that 3 months ago, but they are redirect us to fix some issues. So yeah, we're continuing to working on that.
Nice, because I think the Telegram group or something was broken on CoinGecko, something like that, right? So that's good. By the way, bro and bro, I got the Dimension airdrop yesterday, and I staked with you. Saw
Thank
your
you, bro.
validator there. Yeah, I got you, bro. Come on, this is bro and bro. So that might be, is that it? Any more ideas? Mako, any questions from the community? Oracle's here. I'd like to see that. I don't know, team, that might be it. How was the Discord experience? Master Saab, I think you liked it a little bit.
Great.
Yeah, everything is fine except of some weird sounds on the phone, but everything is good.
Cool. Cool. Hopefully we get some new people in here. I think we're good to close up though. Close up shop.
Yeah, thank you guys, new guys who joined us. We are doing this kind of stuff like every 2 weeks. Yeah, join us next time.
Thank you a lot.
Okay, fam. See you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see ya, bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Sure.